10 minutes till the top of the hour now. The city of New Orleans is struggling with its turbulent history. Frankly, many cities in the South are. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal says he wants to block the city's plan to remove 4 controversial statues and monuments celebrating the South's Confederate past. But scrubbing the city clean of its racially charged history will take much more than removing a few flags or monuments. One of New Orleans' most beloved images, the Fleur-de-Lis, carries with it a history of brutality. The fleur-de-lis, which in English translates to lily flower, dates back more than 1,000 years, first featured in royal and religious imagery. But now some are analyzing the symbol's brutal history in the United States. In 1724, French politician Jean-Baptiste Colbert introduced the fleur-de-lis through the Code Noir, or the Black Code, to the then French colony of Louisiana. A list of rules regulating interactions between colonists and their slaves before Louisiana became a U.S. state in 1803. Translated from French, if a slave stole livestock, was captured after a month on the run, or if several gathered repeatedly in a crowd, they were to be marked with the fleur-de-lis symbol, an inhumane branding. These days, New Orleans Saints players wear that symbol on their jerseys. It's virtually everywhere in New Orleans. 3 fleurs-de-lis are emblazoned on the city's flag. It's the state's official symbol. But New Orleans and Louisiana are not alone. The icon is embroidered into the flags of the cities of Detroit, St. Louis, Louisville, Kentucky, and Mobile, Alabama. And it's part of the logo of the Boy Scouts of America. So let's talk about it now. We've got with us Terrence Fitzsimmons. He's an expert on Louisiana's history and a professor of history at Tulane University. Good to have you. And I first want to start with this group.
Victor, my name is Fitzmaurice.
Fitzmaurice. I apologize for that. There's a group, Remove Racist Symbols, called for the removal of the fleur-de-lis, among other symbols. First, is it appropriate to call the fleur-de-lis a racist symbol, to characterize it that way, and should it be reconsidered?
The fleur-de-lis may have been used to brand slaves and cattle and other things of that nature, but that was 1724 through the 1760s, when the French imperial government, monarchical government, governed Louisiana. That symbol is now has been a symbol for a long time of rejuvenation, restoration, reconstruction of a city that was nearly drowned 10 years ago. That symbol is not a racist symbol. It should be used and celebrated as the Saints do, and as we do, and as you mentioned in your promo, many states and many cities that use that symbol. It's a symbol of hope in the city of New Orleans, and it unites both black and white in their love affair of the city of New Orleans and their beloved New Orleans Saints.
All right, so let's talk about these Confederate monuments, because that's the fight that's at the forefront right now. New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu, the city council support taking down these 4 monuments to General Lee and others. 2 local commissions have voted to remove them, but Governor Jindal is vowing to fight that. Let's put up on the screen a statement from his office. Governor Jindal opposes the tearing down of these historical statues, and he has instructed his staff to determine the legal authority he has as a governor to stop it. The question here is, what is the balance? Respecting and honoring history, but also removing symbols from at least public property of a rebellion founded on slavery and the fallacy of racial superiority. What's the balance here?
Well, the balance is going to be political. It has to be something that we find in compromise with one another, which is our hallmark as a country, as a nation. To me, as a historian, the larger issue is to get to people to understand why those monuments went up and when they went up and for what reason they went up. And those monuments, the Lee Monument in particular, was constructed in 1880 through 83, 84. 14 years after Robert E. Lee was dead, 20 years after the Confederacy had collapsed. It was an effort, and 7 years after the Reconstruction government, which was biracial, was run out of the city. The reason for that statue was to express reconciliation in one sense, that the North and the South would be reconciled, but there was more than that. The South wanted to show, and New Orleans was the epicenter of the lost cause, wanted to show that it was now in command of its own destiny. and that the ex-Confederates who built that statue, the Charles Fenners, the Randall Lee Gibsons, the Francis T. Nichols, were now showing that they were now in charge of Louisiana and New Orleans. And what they hoped to do was reconcile themselves to a past that was actually one they wanted to erase.
So with that history, do you expect that
the Confederacy was for?
We're running low on time, Professor, and I apologize for that, but do you expect that they will come down? Or at least be moved?
I have no idea. I'm a historian, not a prophet. I would think that, I would anticipate that the mayor would find some sort of compromise, that maybe the statues would remain, but there'd be some sort of educational effort, whether at plaques or in educational forums, to explain the origins of these statues and their meaning in history.
All right, Professor Terrence Fitzmaurice, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.